The joke, what to do? Okay, I'll try to be specific. Been married 2 years, dated for several before that. Generally had a good relationship this whole time, very much in love. Now, for the past 10 years or so I've had a bad habit. I've struggled with smoking off and on, or sometimes more, sometimes less, for the past 10 years. I'm a smart enough guy, I get good grades, I play high-level soccer. But I have struggled to eliminate the problem from my life. To that end, about a year ago I started getting into smoking again on a more consistent basis. Over a 3-month period or so it developed into an unhealthy habit. In the process, over that 3-month period my wife and I started getting a bit distant. I would be out often with friends, smoking etc. and we began spending less time together. Honeymoon phase over, and growing a bit distant. She started feeling distant to me at least. Or I should say, felt I wasn't around as much as I should for her. Wasn't pulling my weight in the marriage, both emotionally and house chores. Now at some point over that same 3-month period she began a new job and started a friendship with her co-worker, where she volunteered at and hopefully would eventually get a job at. He has so much in common with her. They both are extremely passionate about their work and work-related things, teaching, fitness. At some point during the initial 3-month phase, she admitted to me that she was having an inappropriate relationship with this guy. It started out just that they got along very well, was easy to talk to, from both ends, but that it quickly developed into her sharing how she felt and opening up to him etc. Things she normally would be sharing with her husband. They started getting closer, in other words. It had started that, but she admitted this to me then, knew it was wrong, said she didn't want to continue it anymore. Said it was over etc., that they would only be strictly professional. I accepted it, gave her the benefit of the doubt, and felt that I could believe her when she said it was over. The only reason it happened, she said then, was because we were less close lately. Which in turn was essentially my fault, due to smoking too much so I guess I have my share of the blame. Fast forward 9 months from then to today, I've still been struggling with my smoking problem. It goes up or down, but it's been there. And our relationship hasn't been great over this past year. When she first told me about that guy, at the time we first started growing distant, I had tried to rein in the collateral damage of my habit. That is, I learned that smoking could make me complacent, lazy. And so even if I haven't conquered my addiction, I tried to consciously be a better husband. Nonetheless, I would make myself emotionally available as much as possible, listen to her, be there for her, or would try to pull my weight more around the house. Yes, it wasn't perfect, there was still shortcomings for sure. But I can honestly say it was better than the first 3-month period. Now the past 2 months have been quite rocky. In terms of my smoking she had laid down the hammer, giving me an ultimatum about a month ago that if I didn't check into that kind of thing that she was going to separate. She didn't want to enable me anymore, which I felt was fair. I felt like utter crap for this. I felt extremely bad about how I'd become. Over the past 6 months she had begun to be more open with how she was being affected by my addiction. That she felt very hurt, distant. That I haven't been a good husband etc. My response would be shame, guilt. 1,000 sorry and I love you. I would try to rein it in, or be a better man for her. Sometimes to great effect, sometimes to mediocre effect. Lord knows I am not perfect. But anyways, the past 6 months have been like that, with the past 2 being hammer being laid down. She stopped sleeping with me altogether, and generally was emotionally dead to me, unresponsive to me, even if I tried everything to love her. If I would try to be nice, or loving, these past 2 months she's been cold, essentially. Meanwhile I started a NA program, during which it requires full honesty and accountability to your loved ones the damage you've caused. I started going through the steps these past 2 months, of admitting my mistakes, admitting I have a problem, apologizing repeatedly for the hurt I caused, all the while receiving minimal response from my wife, because she has been so hurt, or we are so distant etc. To my mind I could accept this, and felt it was only part of the healing process. I had hurt her, she had the right to express her pain and remain distant until she could trust me again. This week, by accident, I found out that her and co-worker made out, for quite a while apparently. Not just a kiss. One night 2 months ago when they were along together at his place, she admitted it to me, reluctantly, but full of guilt. We were both crying a lot. As I asked more questions and she became more forthright with me, it turns out that they had retained their relationship all along, or recontinued it after a short respite following the first time. She admitted it to me. They would hang out at his place, go out to pubs together, go for coffee or walks together etc. physically. They made out the one time, and also on various occasions have held hands, hugged and cuddled, held each other close etc. emotionally. She said their relationship is complicated since they care about each other a lot and develop feelings for each others. They have shared this with each other, know that they have feelings for each other, etc. She said this only really picked up in the last 3 months. But I know for a fact that she has remained friends with him from the get-go. I feel hurt, very hurt. We were always extremely faithful to each other and always spoke about how that's the last thing we'd ever do. I was serious about that. Not to come across as arrogant, but I'm a smart dude, good looks. And barring a smoking problem I'm trying to conquer. Have my crap together. I'll be going to a top law school next year and don't find it difficult to talk to girls. And girls enjoy my company. Point is, there was lots of opportunity to cheat but I never would. I don't so much as even speak to girls, besides my sisters or old friends. If there is a situation where I feel a girl may be into me or me into her, I leave. I have my faults but I would never cheat, never wanted to be that guy. I swore to myself I would never, no matter what, cheat. That was the cardinal rule. And she shared the same, and we've both agree how vital that is and how we'd leave each other. How our awesome relationship would be broken if that ever happened. A few days have passed and we've talked. From her perspective she feels like crap about what happened. She says she can't believe she did that it was wrong. She also says the only reason it happened was because of the WI smoke, that it was because we were distant for the past year. I can accept that to a degree. I am no angel and I know I have a problem and that I've hurt her and that I need to change. I know that and accept that. But does that make her relationship okay? Obviously not, but does it justify it? Or excuse it? Or put another way, are we both equally wrong here? Or is it different, what we did? The way she puts it, she says it's like I've been cheating on her with my smoking for the past year. That I choose to over being there for her. And because of that, she started seeking fulfillment elsewhere. I can accept that, but then I also think about and wonder that during the past year there has been lots of times that I've tried to be there for her, supported her, made nice evenings out with her, cuddled her, listened, only to receive the cold shoulder. Or I think of the past 2 months since she has laid down the hammer, threatening to leave and withholding all physical and emotional intimacy until I get better. I've felt like crap and blamed myself for all that was wrong in our relationship. But I can't help but think a lot of that was also because she had been carrying on this relationship with that guy. I mean, how did we even have a change at repairing our relationship when she had been carrying this one behind my back the whole time? And to what extent is it not her fault that this past year we had been distant? How could we not when she was getting fulfillment elsewhere? I don't know what to do. She wants to get MC and work this through. I do too, but I can't help feeling something is broken. I know she didn't sleep with him, but they did enough physically, and even more than enough emotionally. And for a while, she's also been lying about it this whole time, and especially these past 2 months since the time they made out. She dramatically increased the distance and blame. I can't help feeling angry about it. Here we are trying to fix our relationship via me fixing my addiction. A process which requires full honesty and responsibility by all parties involved, and she's carrying on this relationship, all the while increasing the blame for the fact that we are distant, all the while rejecting my attempts at intimacy, love, support, apology on the pretext that we are too broken and it's my fault. She wants to get MC, move one by one and restart our marriage. We both messed up sort of deal. We deal with it and start afresh. I should add her tone changed the second I found out about it. The day I found out she was all, sorry, we both messed up. Let's get MC and move past this. Whereas the very day before, even a couple hours before I found out, she was talking about contemplating leaving me, talking about how she spoke with friends who had marriage problems. One stuck it out and is now happy. The other left and never has been happy. And that she doesn't know what she should do. This kind of talk had been going on for the past couple months before I found out. So, she had been laying it all on me, had been threatening leaving, and the moment I find out everything changes. Now she just wants to work it out and move on. She says it was all a mistake and only happened because we developed problems. On a side note, she continued to see that guy after they made out. But on a strictly professional level, she says. Furthermore, she is about to start a job working under his authority, so she will see him every day. This burns me inside so much. I feel like a jackass. This guy makes out and has an emotional relationship with my wife. And now she is about to accept a job working with him? She says she would be willing to change jobs, but she's been trying to get this job literally for a year and only got it because of those connections. And I know how meaningful this work is to her. She'd spent the last 7 years in school, volunteering to get it. But now she'll be doing this work alongside this guy. I can't stand the thought of it, but I also can't stand the thought of asking her to not do the work she absolutely loves. I don't know what to do. I know she didn't sleep with him, but this past year he's basically been her emotional partner. And I've been the guy who was to blame for becoming distant. I know I have my faults, and I know the smoking thing is a problem which I'm sincerely trying to fix. but I would never ever cheat on her. Yes, I've been a crappy husband at times, but I never ever tried to hurt her. Even though I did, and I never went out to be with another woman, even during the times where we were emotionally and physically distant. What do you guys think? We both equally at fault. Is it essentially the same what we did? Can I ever trust her again? Any thoughts or experiences or whatever would be greatly appreciated, as I'm pretty lost here. A month later. Since then, we tried to work it out. I've quit smoking 3 weeks clean now. Was hard as hell, but I'm in the clear now. I know I don't want to ever go back to that lifestyle. Enjoying a clear mind now, and she apologized with lots of emotion. Expressed her absolute love for me. Said it was all a mistake because we got distant, etc. She swore it was never more than one kiss. Emotional affair. I guess you'd say. I wasn't sure whether to trust her, but she's never done anything before to hurt me or lie to, and she seemed so sincere with her desire to return to our once happy relationship. We both decided then and there we wanted to put our full attention into our marriage. We wanted to forgive each other and never hurt each other again and put everything into this relationship. And we did. For my part, as stated, she and I needed to quit smoking 100% and put in my share into the relationship. With all that entails, house chores, thoughtfulness, romance, putting effort into every aspect, etc. For her part, I demanded 100% no contact with him, which she agreed to. And she also put effort into our relationship these past weeks. So since then, things have been very good. We both felt we were really making strides. We've been spending lots of fun, loving, joyful, happy time together, and while we were both still dealing with putting the past behind us, we were doing great. Then I checked our phone bill history today and discovered that since that day when we both admitted our faults in this marriage and recommitted to making this relationship prosper, that she's continued contact with him. Specifically, over these past 3 weeks she's spent 6 hours on the phone and exchanged around 12 texts with him. I was floored, having believed her when she repeatedly told me they hadn't spoken since that day of our recommitment. Her excuse: he's going through terrible personal issue, and since he was there for her during her rough time being our relationship declining over the past year, that she felt she owed him support. I know this is all bull crap, don't worry. I gave her the benefit of the doubt the first time. Now all credibility is really shot. Okay, on to where you come in. I'm not sure what to do. Issue 1. Concerning her, as of immediately she's not sleeping in the same room as me until I decide the next move. Here's my thing. As crazy as you all might think I am, I do believe her. I think, or at least I am not certain, she's lying when she says they never slept together and that this was all more just an emotional affair. She admits to kissing once, but that's all. I'm not certain, like I said, and I know she's been lying this whole time, but something tells me it just might be more of just an emotional thing. If they did sleep together, I'm done here. I can't continue in this relationship if she's slept with him. However, I could, perhaps, I think, and only as long as a bunch of other conditions were met. Imagine the possibility that we salvage this if this has just been an emotional thing. It would take a lot to trust her, and I would have to have complete control. Knowledge of everything she does. Calls, texts, emails, for a long time, but I think it's possible, but not inevitable, to still fix this if the extent of this whole thing has been an emotional and not resulted in sexual stuff. So, my question is this: the only possible to resolve this is a lie detector test, and if she'd been honest and hadn't slept with him, doesn't love him, then maybe we can bounce back. What do you think? Is a lie detector test a good course of action? Any experiences with them? Any other suggestions as to what I should do with her? Issue 2, the other man. Up to this point I have refrained from having any contact with him. I know who he is and where he works, where she worked before. I have his number. But that's about it. Before, when we first recommitted, I felt I'd leave him out of it, believing he was out of our life completely now. I could live with not confronting him at that time as long as my wife also never contacted him again. He was dead to both of us, and that is that. But now, with this new development, I feel I need to confront him. More to the point, I can't get the idea out of my head of calling him up for a meeting. I believe I would use the following pretext. I would tell him that I know something had been going on with him before, but that my wife and I are working through this and committed to each other, and that part of that is getting closure with him. Thus, I just want to have a chat with you, since I know you two are friends, but that we need to re-establish the proper parameters here. I know the exact wording here I will work on, don't worry, but something to that effect. I would, gently, ask for a coffee so we can sort this out and put this past us. That type of deal. I can be good with words and be persuasive when necessary. Now, assuming he agrees, I would then meet up with him wearing my long, puffy winter soccer coat, inside, and undetectable from others. I would have a baseball bat that would be elegantly hanging from a custom-made baseball hanging hook. Detail to be worked out. I will work it out with my tailor. but something that effectively allows the bat to hang out inside my coat. When we meet and we're close enough, I would swiftly remove said bat and beat his ass with it. I don't intend to kill him or permanently injure him or anything, but hopefully crack a few ribs. Lots of bruises, etc., so he gets it to never contact her again and never ever mess with a married woman, while I still want to X his ribs with a bat. I know it's not the solution, so I change my question. What do you recommend I do to him? Should I out him, especially since he was a supervisor supervising my wife, so in a position of authority, especially because they have continued contact and I need it to stop, especially since I hate the guy. How do I go about outing him? Banner in his gym. Tell all the teachers. Just tell the principal. The problem without him is it outs her, and as angry as I am, I don't want her to be dragged through the mud. I'm hoping there is a light at the end of the tunnel for us in all this. Her job. It's nearly impossible to get a teaching job in my area. And the fact she got it was only because of string pulled, the OM being part of this. So yeah, complicated and difficult. I don't get why she had to do thing, ruining so much on so many levels. What about advice for what I might do my wife? Lie detector. Drop her. Believe her. I don't know. Other man. He is not married. What can out him to the principal do to him though? Is this not a private matter in general? Do people get fired for cheating? She did her practicum at his school, yes, where she took over his class under his supervision. So I'm guessing that answers the above question. I'm guessing he could get in trouble for messing with a student teacher under his supervision. In cases where the WS and AP do not work together, could the AP be being fired, reprimanded professionally? What about the fact that I do not know the details of this relationship? I do know they have a lot of contact together, hours of phone calls, thousands of texts, but not sure how much hanging out alone. I do know they made out, that is what she has admitted, but she insists that's all that happened physically. Should I get a lie detector test first to find out the extent of this, or is what I already know enough to call this an affair and deserve of being outed? Man, this is the toughest situation I've ever been in. I'm not going to oust them. It would screw him over, yes, but it would also screw my wife over as much or even more. I don't see the benefit of the school district gossiping about my wife's infidelity. If I didn't want to save this marriage, I would likely do this. But I do, so this option is out. I will confront the OM. I'm not going to baseball bat it, as much as I want to. But let him know the harm he is causing and that we're committed to each other and to duck off and that she's mine and to please not contact her anymore. I know he might not give a damn, or he might take it to heart. Either way, it doesn't hurt. I think I'm seeing the human side of the effects of his actions. If he is even a little human, must have some effect. If not, then duck him. My wife and talked for hours today, again, and I know she said this last time, but she wants our relationship to work, to thrive. I do too, and she knows how much she has hurt me. But we both want this to work and she agreed to do whatever it takes. So, the conditions I set for this to have a chance she all fully agreed to. So I will be cautious and wait to see if she lives up to them. The conditions were a lie detector test to find out if she is being truthful that they didn't sleep together, that it was only an emotional affair, and anything other details I want to ask her about. The full, absolute disclosure of phone, email, any other form of communication, etc. I discovered this through her phone record, so she knows that's impossible to hide. She's given me all her passwords, etc. as well. Our financial situation is very highly monitored, and she wouldn't have an opportunity to get a secret phone. I will watch this aspect very closely though. See, no contact. She's agreed to write a letter tonight which I will co-write, proofread. She also agreed to not work with him at all. She understands there is no more second chances in this. I will leave her if she resumes contact with him at all. We are getting MC as well, starting as soon as possible really. We do love each other and we want this to work. She messed up, I messed up last year. We want to move on and get back to our great relationship. So I hope her story checks out, lie detector test, and she lives up to the other agreements. We'll see. I'll be cautious for a while. Comments. Your plan so far will only work if your wife goes along with it. As I just stated, your wife almost definitely will backtrack. You may disagree with me. She has tried to give up her addiction once and has been unable to do so. She has been lying to you all along. First, she said she was in contact just to help him over a rough spot. Thousands of texts in 6 hours. That's some rough spot. Now she has admitted to feelings for him. Prepare yourself for the I love you but I'm not in love with you. Prepare yourself for her admitting to loving the other man. Have you seen any of her texts? OP responds, I don't know if she will backtrack. I hope she doesn't, and I know I have clearly told her that if she does, I'm leaving. All I can do here is man up and stick to my guns if, heaven forbid, she contacts him. I will watch carefully. I have phone records. I will get keylogger. And I know she can still get around that, so I have told her she is to get a lie detector test now, to verify her story up to now, that it wasn't a sexual affair, and that in 6 months or so we will do a follow-up to ensure contact has remained cut off. That's about as thorough as I can imagine, and she has agreed to these measures. But I need your warning. I hope to God she's not in love with him, but I don't want to be naive and in denial that it's a possibility. I know our marriage has suffered, and much of that is my blame. Doesn't justify her affair, of course. So I hope at this point that we rekindle our love. We still love each other greatly, despite what had happened between him and the other man. So despite what's happened, if it's love or whatnot, if she sticks to dumping him 100%, we can do this. The question just is if she can. If she falters, well, I'm out, and she knows this. She didn't know that before, as I never threatened that before. But before, I didn't know she was lying about this the entire time. I can only hope she truly understands the gravity of this and cuts him out. I can only hope the prospect of losing me is strong enough to defeat her addiction to the other man. If it isn't, then it's ultimately her loss. I'm a better man than the other man, and she knows it. Yesterday we had our first, supposedly, real 100% honest talk. The day before, I told her I knew she wasn't being forthright with everything, and she admitted she wasn't. I told her to gather her thoughts and memories, and that if she is serious about saving the marriage, that the next day, yesterday, she has to give me a full and absolute account of everything. I made it clear that I am 100% serious, that this is her last chance to be honest with me. I told her that I know she's been still lying, but that this was the last chance to come clean, and that after this chance, there are none. I know that everything up to this talk has been trickle-truthing and rug-sweeping, and she admitted as much. I also told her that after her last chance to fully disclose, we will be getting a polygraph test to verify her account, so that there is no way for her to rug-sweep. She agreed to all of this willingly and said she wants to come clean so we can move on. So, the time came to come fully clean, in all its details. Long story short, everything was as I had already known. Emotional affair. Expressed emotions of love. Not her though, she only said she cares for him. Never told him she loves him. It's all semantics to me. They love each other. Very lengthy and consistent texting, but not too frequent meeting up. It was mostly texting, with some phone calls and meeting up here and there. The part that hit me like a ton of bricks, and was a new revelation, was that while before she said they made out one time for a long time, but that it was only kissing, turns out to ended with something much more. She said that after they started getting to the fun part, she stopped and started crying, not knowing how she got to this point, etc. Anyways, I lost my crap and have never been more devastated in my life. I immediately stormed out of the house and walked for a couple hours, fuming like I never have before. It was a surreal experience, really. Whereas before, under what I originally believed was the case, with only kissing, I was essentially sad. It hurt and made me extremely sad, is how I would generally describe it. Not exclusively sad, but it was the dominant emotion. This time I was not sad, I was mad. I was pissed. I wanted to mess something up. So, on this walk I had the other man's number. I decided I needed to call him up and tell him to stay the duck away from my wife. I told him if he continues, I will expose him to every person he knows, especially his workplace, where he met my wife while in a position of authority. I then said I would also make it my personal hobby to make his life miserable. This was all through text, because when I first called and told him who I was and that I will mess him up if he doesn't stay away from my wife, he immediately hung up. I felt a bit better after this, knowing however that it was very risky. I just felt that I needed to express myself though, and that he needs to get the message. He replied through text an hour later that he's willing to have a civil talk with me if I stop with high school threats. I replied simply with to stay away and that I mean what I say and to stop contacting us. He then replied threatening that what I am threatening to do, outing him, would be defamation of character. I replied that that is only if one spreads lies, not truths, and repeated to stay away and stop contacting me. He replied again that I better not share this information or else it would be defamation of character, legal action, etc. I ignored him, deleted our conversation, and went back to my wife. We spoke more for a while, me venting, pissed, upset, hurt, betrayed, etc. Her bawling, upset, sorry multiple times, I'll do anything. I asked if there's anything left to disclose and she said that's it. I repeated again that this is the only and last opportunity to come clean, so she better make sure she is. She ensured she was. Several hours later, after calming down, I spoke to her rationally. I wasn't in a rage anymore, and sheer anger was starting to be pushed aside by regular anger and hurt. I know I still want to fix this marriage and move on from this and express this to her. She was still groveling, etc. After some talk of fixing this and me outlining what she must do in the near future and the consequences if she at all falters, we went to bed embracing. Concerning the last sentence, some might think I'm nuts to hold her close only after a bunch of hours after the revelation, but that evening was such a hurricane of conflicting emotion. Besides the unimagined anger, I felt also very hurt, but besides that, deeper down, I also feel love and longing for my wife. We once had the most amazing relationship in the world, and at the end of the day, I miss that. I miss her. What's messed is that in my hurt, because I am hurt, I instinctively want comfort and consolation. And my entire being has been programmed to receive that from my wife. So in a way I needed her to hold me, even though she caused the hurt. But that embrace and feeling only lasts as long as it takes for the anger and hurt to return, upon which I can't look at her. This cycle, it's a strange mix of emotions. Waking up, the anger and hurt came over me like a wave again. Mind movies nonstop. As she left for work, I told her that he will contact her today. No doubt, but that she must never reply to him and must tell me when he does. I made it clear that this is categorically necessary step, test one of many necessary steps. Tests that she might fulfill for us to stay together. She said she understood. Sure enough, he texts her not an hour later. As soon as it happened, she immediately texted me and told me. I then immediately texted the OM and said, very simply, to stop contacting us. That it is over. To move on, and to leave us alone. He replied to me he needs to talk to her about something unrelated. What the duck? Sure buddy, and that it's scary that I'm intercepting her texts. I will not text him back anymore. I have given him too much time of day, and probably satisfaction. As it is, and I can see why people advise against this. At the same time, I feel I do not regret it. He better get the message, from my words themselves, but also from the fact that my wife didn't reply to his text but then I immediately did, which I hope indicates, to me and to the OM, that she's 100% with me and that it's over with D-bag. We will both never respond to any more contact he attempts, should he try. And in fact we are going to change our numbers today to make that possibility impossible. So that's where we are. My wife is broken, continually crying and apologizing. I am pissed, hurt, trying to make sense of this all. I think she really has come clean with me now, but I know to not be naive here, and that is why I'm still going through with the polygraph. I cannot make a threat and then not see it through. She needs to know I am serious, and I need to know she is being truthful. We'll see what the polygraph says. If it indicates she was lying, then I am out. Although I'm hopeful because she agreed to the test and knew it was coming before her last chance at full disclosure. I've told her this and I will leave if the polygraph tells me to. If she ever contacts him again, I am out. I have told her this and I will do so. If either of these two things happen, I will do two things in fact. I will leave her, but as I do, I will also tell everyone in the world why I am doing so. Including our families, friends, etc. everyone. I've told her this, so she better get the ducking message or else she will be alone with severe damage to her reputation. Besides those two conditions being met, good polygraph test and NC. She must prove to me that she is always being 100% transparent, honest for the next while. As long as it takes. She offered to give up her cell to prove to me, but I declined as I have the phone records anyways. I am monitoring calls, texts like a hawk. I'm installing Keylogger today, and I'll see how it goes. So that's where we are. We are also calling the MC in the coming few days so we can start sifting through this. This is the most painful experience I've ever gone through. Feel free to judge how I handled it, but I feel I did what I had to do to both stop the affair while also making it possible to save our marriage. The ball is entirely in her court and I'll see what her action indicates to me. So far so good, but I am not going to be naive and not easily here. It must be proven, over time, with distinct behavior. One uncertainty I have regards how to my thinking is to play good cop, bad cop, NC, transparency, polygraph, and being completely vigilant regarding this. At the same time, I want to spend time with her, care for her. But not done, and not be distant. My thinking is our marriage got lost somewhere on the way this past year and she turned to another guy. Having eliminated him from the picture, I now want our love to completely replace and overwhelm our lives so that there is no need or desire to seek another man. Does this make sense? Is being caring, inviting her to relapse. My comment, to be honest, I have no people taking their partners back, but you can't have your partner back while the other person is still in the picture. There is no way. That person needs to disappear from your circle forever. If you like this story, you can always support this channel by hitting that sub button. That would mean a lot.